The year is 2002, and Minoru Suzuki found himself in the twilight of his MMA career. Suzuki became a pioneer of Japanese MMA when he, Masakatsu Funaki, and Ken Shamrock decided that real shoot fighting could be big business in Japan. Thus, the three went off and created Pancrase in 1993. Suzuki was once a marquee name in Pancrase, but between 1999 and 2002, he only had 5 fights, a far cry from his heyday. In comparison, in 1998 alone, Suzuki had fought 9 times. You can chalk this up to numerous injuries and a tough Pancrase schedule. By the time 2002 had rolled around, Suzuki had decided he wanted to step away from pro fighting and focus on training new fighters. But perhaps the old calls of pro wrestling also beckoned him. Whatever the case, the time had come to close the books on Minoru Suzuki's fight career. On November 30th, 2002, at Pancrase Spirit 8, Suzuki's final Pancrase match would take place. Instead of picking the top fighter of Pancrase at the time to battle against, Suzuki decided it would be a better fight to have a famous name stand across the ring from him. But his scheduled opponent, Kensuke Sasaki, former IGPW heavyweight champion, would have an injury, forcing him out of the match. Suzuki, still wanting a big name to go out on, instead replaced him with a different Japanese pro wrestler, this time Keiichi Yamada, also known as Jushin Thunger Linger. World travel pro wrestler who, unlike Sasaki, had never fought in MMA before. So, would a worn-down 38-year-old pro wrestler be able to give a worn-down 34-year-old MMA legend a good fight? We shall find out in this episode of MMA Oddities. Hello, friends and loved ones. It's me, the most dangerous man alive today, back for more odd MMA action. You might ask, the most dangerous man alive today, what makes an MMA fight an odd fight? And I would say crazy haphazard booking, like this. Minoru Suzuki, who is aging pretty badly around this time, but still a formidable fighter, versus a cartoon character come to life. I wonder what's going to happen. Jushin Liger originally wrestled under his namesake, which was Keiichi Yamada, but in 1989, New Japan Pro Wrestling asked him to don a gimmick from an anime show that was called Jushin Liger. NJPW had previously done this with Tiger Mask to great success, and so they thought they could capture lightning twice, and I would say they were successful. Yamada was originally deemed too small to train at the New Japan Pro Wrestling dojo in the early 80s, and so he went to Mexico and showed his sheer determination to the art of pro wrestling by nearly starving as he struggled to make ends meet with the luchas. New Japan Pro Wrestling officials took notice of this dedication, found pity, and saved him by letting him join the New Japan Pro Wrestling dojo. Suzuki and Yamada met each other in New Japan Pro Wrestling in 1988, after Suzuki debuted for New Japan Pro Wrestling that year. Yamada had returned to Japan in 1987, after in 1986 he went off on the time-honored Japanese pro wrestling tradition of touring Europe. And in the beginning of 1987 he had a stint with Stampede Pro Wrestling in the US. Yamada, coincidentally, had a match against one of the other Pancrase co-founders, and that was Masakatsu Funaki. Just a note here before I press play. I struggled very hard to find a quality copy of this fight. I was expecting to get the whole event, Spirit 8, where this fight took place. It hasn't come about yet. So I instead found a Best of Pancrase Volume 1 and 2. And Volume 2, as it so happened, had this fight. Now, this isn't as complete of the fight as I wanted. It doesn't have any of the pre-fight bullshit, I guess you could say. It doesn't have any of the backstage stuff, none of the hype building stuff, no promo packages or anything like that. It's just the fight, and also doesn't have anything after the fight. So it's lacking in that regard, but it will have to do, because I don't know how soon a copy of Spirit 8 is going to come about. So with that out of the way, I think it's time to press play, and I'm going to press play right now. Here we go. 2002, November 30th. Suzuki, wow, he's shaved his luxurious hair. He also looks a bit pudgy. He's put on some weight, and Jushin Liger, he's donned the mask for this fight. That's odd. They both have really short shoes on. In fact, Suzuki looks like he has a diaper on. And Jushin Liger here has sort of a multicolored long trunks on. There's a... Whoa! Look at that! It was like a flip somersault kick. I'm sure there's an actual name for that kick, but I don't know what the fuck it is. That was pretty stupid, because now he's on his back underneath Minoru Suzuki, who's spent a lot of time in top position here in Pancrase. He's going for kind of a neck crank can opener, maybe to just open up the guard. He's in half guard. Now he's just sort of pushing down on the chin and throat. I know these guys, they're probably friends, and this is more of just I would say a friendly match, although I'm sure both... Oh, he's got mount. This is terrible for Jushin Liger. Is he screaming? Who's that screaming? Or is that Jushin Liger that's like giggling? Like I said, I'm sure these guys are buddies, but I'm sure they're still gonna... those are some pretty good punches, not really super serious. He's in side control now. He could cinch up an arm triangle there, but the arm was on the outside instead of the inside. He's back to mount. This is just pathetic. Little punches, not much on him. Those are just sort of tapping punches here. I think this is kind of a show now that I look at these punches. I mean, okay, they look okay, those punches, but there's not a whole lot of hate on them. Liger gives up his back here. It must be time to go home. That's it. Rear naked choke. Oh, boy. Suzuki, I don't like him with the short hair. I mean, he was a real good looking guy with his hair, and I think at this point though he was really focused on establishing a pro wrestling sort of persona, and maybe he's gonna be like a Japanese buzzsaw, with his short hair. And he gets trounced around the ring pranced around the ring on top of his shoulders. It's not like he beat. Let's hear what he has to say. He's giving some respect to Jushin Liger here. Yeah. They're building some pro wrestling program here. Say, I'll kick your ass in New Japan. Speaking of that, and that's it for the fight. So that was... I am not sure if I believe that fight was actually a honest to goodness real MMA fight. Yeah, okay. So you could say it took place under real rules in a real event, but that was clearly some not soft. Well, yeah, it was kind of soft work. Liger gave up his back at the end there, and that was clear. That was the go home signal. Rear naked choke. Jushin Liger probably didn't have much business being in MMA ring. And Suzuki, I think, was he would actually go in and start a pretty big program in Japanese pro wrestling. So I think that was probably the setup there. After his final Pancrase match here, Suzuki would be called out of retirement once in March of 2013 to fight Hans Niemann. Suzuki would knee bar all Hans in the first round. During his 11-year MMA absence, Suzuki went into various Japanese pro wrestling promotions to great success. Jushin Liger, what about him? Well, he had been touring the independents in America since 2007, last wrestling at PWG in September of 2016. But I don't think he's doing much right now. He's probably taking it easy. He's 50-2, for God's sake. And he actually, believe it or not, actually had a short stint in NXT back in 2015. at the ripe old age of 49, and of course, not much came of that. He never fought in MMA ever again. Well, that does it for this episode of MMA Oddities. What'd you think about this fight? Was this a real legit fight, or was it just Suzuki and Liger kind of playing around? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't liked, share, subscribe, you motherfuckers. And this is the most dangerous man alive today. Wishing you goodbye, good luck, and we'll sniff you fucking jerks later.